Excited to have on our next guest a six-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Daniel Negreanu at Real Kid Poker, joins us right now. And Daniel, I know you're a big hockey bettor. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but timing is everything. And earlier this week, or on Sunday, Doyle Brunson, legend, the godfather of poker, some call, passed away. I know you tweeted about it. Your thoughts on the legacy and the life of Doyle Brunson, who certainly meant so much to your industry, the poker industry.
Yeah, so the term legend is thrown around pretty liberally these days, but when you look it up in the dictionary, like as far as what the poker community is concerned, he is the legend. He's it's the end of an era. This is a guy who he was playing high stakes poker since he was 23 years old, all the way to 89. I played with him last year, and I noticed he's still getting better. I mean, he was amazing. Everyone who played with him was in awe. He was a gentleman, had a lot of fun, and I promise you, if there was a sports betting show, he'd be on it because he bet on everything. You name it, he's going to have action on it.
It's interesting. A couple years ago, I think he was waiting on a seat in Bobby's room. So we were playing up on the platform there at Bellagio. And when I finally got a seat and I saw him at the table, I was like, I'm probably at the wrong table.
Yeah, if you're not looking for the biggest game in the room, then you don't want to be sitting with Doyle, because that's where he's going to be and has been for, 50, 60 years.
And by the way, I love poker. So at a table of professionals, I'm a complete slappy. But at a table of amateurs, okay, I'm a varsity player. I don't play enough to really master the nuances, where I can read and all the subtleties that make you like an elite player. But I have my days. Like, what got you into poker?
Yeah, well, to touch on what you just said, I wanted to really quickly respond by saying you could be like the sixth best poker player in the world. That's pretty impressive, right? But if you play with the other five every day, you're the sucker. So, Sean, as long as you're playing in games and you got people worse than you, then you're doing all right. For me, I always just loved poker because I love the competitive aspect. I would have loved to have been an athlete, but I was like 5'9", $130, and I was too tall to be a jockey, too short to be anything else, and just wasn't very skilled or athletic. But poker, level playing field. I can sit across you, and you have no size advantage against me, sir. Not at a poker table.
Absolutely not. And my stare, I'm sure, won't do anything to get you off of your game. So speaking of professional sports, I go by Puckstradamus on this show. Like, I'm from St. Petersburg, but I'm a diehard hockey lover. And to be honest, I've been awful in the playoffs. But it's because nothing that we anticipated happening this year in the NHL playoffs has happened. If you would have said, somebody would have came to you like to bet, I like to bet. Somebody came to you before the playoffs and said, I'll give you Boston, Edmonton, and Colorado, and I'll take the rest of the field. Like, you most likely would have said, okay. Yet none of the three are here as we get into the conference finals. How surprising have these results been to you?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because, you look at the NBA and historically you think like a 1 seed versus an 8 seed, it's a waste of time. Although this year, you're seeing the Heat, do some damage. With hockey, because it's there's a lot of variance in this game. There's actually a lot of luck in hockey. And any team can beat any team, if the puck bounces the right way. And we've seen, Florida was down 3-1 to Boston. Everyone thought the door was shut. And all of a sudden, not only did they beat Boston, then they moved on to beat Toronto, who finally got past the first round. And then you look over at Seattle, and, everyone assumed they were a lame duck. But no, in hockey, any team can beat any team on every night, which makes it exciting. A lot of these series go on 6-7 games and overtime. It's a sudden death, right? Different than the NBA where you get 5 full minutes. This is one goal, it's over. So it gets your heart pumping.
Daniel Negreanu, one of the top poker players in the entire world, not just the U.S. or Canada, not regionally, but over all of this world. He is considered one of the best to ever do it and still be doing it. The one regret I have, whoever wins the President's Trophy has kind of been cursed. Like, that's not what you want to do, right, in hockey. Like, you don't want to have the most points at the end of the regular season. For whatever reason, it has not manifested itself into Stanley Cup championships. You mentioned the Florida Panthers. I'm still kind of beating myself up because they were last year's President's Trophy winner. They went out, they added to Chuck. Like, the resume, the credibility was there for them to be where they're at. were you a Florida Panther backer before this started, and do you believe in them now?
Yeah, great question. And you talk about the President's Trophy, and people call it a curse, but is it a curse or is it simply logical? Hockey is a grueling game. You're playing every other night, hitting each other on skates, and it's grueling. To chase the President's Trophy, that means you're grinding the World Series really hard. You look at Tampa Bay, who won back-to-back. They don't care about the regular season. As long as they get in, they know how to turn it on. And as you said, Florida may have been just gassed last year after winning the Presidents and just not have enough in the tank. This year, what you've seen is, they made a good push to just squeak into the playoffs. And you mentioned Matthew Tkachuk. He's been unbelievable. He's been a one-man wrecking machine. And, he's the exact kind of guy you want in terms of playoff hockey. Regular season hockey is a little more fancy, a little more, fancy goals. But in the playoffs, you need gritty guys who score those dirty, greasy goals and will do whatever it takes for the team. And Tkachuk is definitely one of those guys. And it's been impressive to watch.
We're talking once again to Daniel Negreanu. You can follow him on Twitter at RealKidPoker. All right, let's get to, you live in Vegas now. You're Canadian, but you live here in Vegas. So we'll call it our hometown team. All three of us are living here in Las Vegas. The Golden Knights around minus 145 to win this series. Stars on the buyback around plus 125. How are you looking to attack, Daniel, Knights and Stars, which the series gets going on Friday?
Well, that's interesting numbers because I looked at numbers earlier today and I saw 137 going down to 130. I know a lot of sharp money is coming in on Dallas betting against Vegas, but that same sharp group that I know, they also had Winnipeg and they also had Edmonton. So, they don't have a lot of faith. They don't have a lot of faith in the Vegas Golden Knights. But I will say this. I did pick Dallas Stars to win the Cup before the playoffs started. They've had a couple really tough series, with Minnesota and then Seattle. I think it's going to be whoever gets luckiest. And generally speaking, when I'm looking at hockey, if any team can win, give me the juice. So if I can get Dallas plus $1.25, that's where I would lean. But I think it's going to be a great series.
It's interesting that you said that because I have Dallas at 26-1 as well. Coming off of a terrific performance, Jake Ottinger was the reason I liked Dallas. I thought he was the best goaltender, at least in the Western Conference to begin. But he didn't really have a great series against the Kraken. Outstanding Game 7, but over the series, he was very inconsistent and sporadic. And we've gotten nothing out of Jason Robertson. So my question is, when do you start to hedge? Like, I have a ticket on him. You said you do as well. When will you start to hedge, or do you not believe in hedging?
Well, no, I think hedging, generally speaking, people that do hedge, it's because they don't have enough money to ride it out, right? I look at a bet and I just think, is this a plus EV bet? I'm not going to make a minus EV bet to circumvent losing less or locking up a profit. I think in terms of just pure EV. But, you mentioned Ottinger, and that's a really important point because in that last round, he's been terrible in the playoffs, and he's a very good goalie. His goal saved above expectation is there with Stuart Skinner, who was Edmonton's goalie and did really, really poorly. So I think that'll be the difference. And Jason Robertson's going to have to find a way to get back on the schneid there. Rupi Hintz is sort of picking up the slack. But Dallas is built in a lot of ways, kind of like Edmonton, in that they have this one big line with Pavelski, Hintz, and Robertson, and they move them around and stuff like that. And it'll be a really interesting coaching battle because Pete DeBoer coached the Vegas Golden Knights last year, and now the Vegas Golden Knights are facing off against them. So there'll be a lot of intimate understanding and knowledge of how each other thinks and how they play it out. Only
about a minute left. The Eastern Conference really seems to be like the stepbrother. Not a lot of attention being played, especially since Boston and Tampa exited. We sit with Florida versus Carolina. Who do you like in this series and why in about 45 seconds?
Well, here's the thing with Carolina. I think they've been slept on big time. And I think the key reason is Max Pacioretty was a big free agent acquisition. He's been out, broken his Achilles. Svechnikov, who's their other sniper, he's out too. So you think, oh, well, they're done, right? But they've been great. Brett Burns has really stepped up. They play very systematically sound and smart. So I actually think that, Carolina is going to win that series. But I wouldn't be surprised if Florida does because, like I said, a lot of luck in hockey.
It is. Bravovsky been standing on his head. We'll see if he can keep it going. I've got Florida, Dallas. I'm hoping, Daniel, that we can get there. Well, Ottinger has me nervous. He really does.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's going to have to step up and play better than he has. No question about it.
Daniel, really appreciate it. Great stuff.
Man.
We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the games.
All right, guys. You have a good one.
There he is. Daniel Negreanu at RealKidPoker on Twitter.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.